This is, to me, my most successful attempt to do what I try to do all the time, with all my career, is to make me disappear and make the acting disappear until all you see is Fred, Bert, or whoever the hell it is. A sort of insult to me would be if someone was sitting in the cinema and said, "Isn't that Michael Caine a good actor?" What they should be saying is, "What's going to happen to Fred?" That's the difference, and that's another stage beyond, to which I felt that I'd got in this movie. I'm the proudest of this movie of any movie I've ever made. I hope they take an experience that they've never had before in the cinema. It's not a Western, and nobody gets killed, and they won't realize what they're doing. But what they are doing it's an extraordinary thing. I thought to myself, there's something about this movie that I can't figure out what it is, and I don't know what it is. And I was doing a Q&A, and a man got up, and there's questions, and some man in the audience got up, and he didn't say a question. He said to Paolo, "Did you intend to make a film that runs like a river without ever speeding up, slowing down? It just keeps flowing like a river, and we float along on it, this movie." If you think of movies that got, you'll have a tender love scene, and there's a gunfight, and you come back, and then there's a beautiful scene. This doesn't. It just starts, and you just keep going, and going, and going, and going, and you go with it, And this man in the audience explained this thing that I knew was there, and I couldn't figure it out for myself. And it's there. It's like a river. Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I thought it was going to be difficult, and it's so easy because once you start, I worked on it like hell. I always come extremely prepared. I'm a Stanislavski actor. I've said the scene at least the dialogue at least 1,000 times, at least. And so I know exactly what I'm doing, and then you do it, and then you wait and see whether the director thinks that's any good. Well, he obviously did with me, because he gave me very few directions, but when he does give you a direction, it's absolutely to the point, and it's done very quietly. It's none of that megaphone directing like we used to see in the old Hollywood days, He'll just come up to you and say, "Why don't you just try that or this?" You go, "Wow." And you suddenly go, "Oh, that's a fantastic, I never thought of that." And he points out all the things you weren't deep enough to realize that's in his work. Because all the time there are things which are slightly deeper than your imagination could ever go, because I think he's a genius writer. I mean, he not only directs the movies, he writes them. And every now and then he has to point out this extra thing that he meant. And you go, "Oh, I didn't realize that was it." "Oh, yes, that's it." And he's quiet and very loving about it. There's never any nastiness at all. I think we've all been there, and you're all afraid that it's going to go. And this movie tells you there's nothing to be afraid of. Because if you, in that same scene where I'm with my doctor, I've been and had all the examinations, and I've gone to find out if there's anything wrong, my got prostate cancer or something. And he says, "No, there's nothing wrong with you." And he says to me, "You know what we call that?" I said, "No." He says, "Youth. There's nothing wrong with you. And the film says you can get old, and there's nothing wrong with you. But you know so much more."